Hello, my chicklets. Thank you for stopping by. Before we start into the story, I would like to give you a few updates. I'm going to be taking most of October off because it is a special month to me. However, I will be releasing our special 500 subscriber Podfic on October 13th. Just because I'm going to be gone doesn't mean you'll be without Podfic though. Trini, who so kindly did our story Worth It for the Soulmate September series, will be coming back and giving you 3 stories as well so that you can still get your weekly updates. I will probably still be responding to comments, but I will be a little bit slower, so I thank you all for your patience. Now to the story. Today we will be reading day 25 in our Soulmate September series. In this universe, you are drawn to an object, and when you meet your soulmate, both of your items will glow. This is another 2-chaptered story, so it will be a little bit longer, as well as this is set in an ABO universe. If that's not something you're interested in, I would suggest you look at one of my other podfics. Without further ado, let me read Missing Pieces. Logan was exhausted. The days when he went to court weren't always difficult, but when he was defending Remus, it always took all of his energy. Remus was a force of chaos and occasionally a menace, but he meant well, most of the time. He had been called upon battery charges after punching someone in the face. Thankfully, Remus was an Omega and people were extremely sexist. They ate up Logan's story for Remus getting overprotective of Virgil, simply trying to show that he was strong enough to support his beta, and the alpha was unwilling to show just how much damage Remus had actually done, because he didn't want to seem weak. Still, as Remus's soulmate, lawyer, and alpha, Logan was expected to keep him in check. Did no one realize that was the equivalent of restraining the tide? Literally? He sighed as he stepped into the library, fiddling with the soulmate necklace. Logan hadn't been certain that the necklace that he wore was his soulmate necklace, not at first. He'd felt drawn to it as it sat in a pawn shop window, but he assumed it was simply because of the beautiful intricacies of the 5-pointed star. It wasn't until he put it on and the first branch of the star lit up did Logan have his suspicions. Then, when he met Virgil and the second branch lit up, his suspicions were confirmed. Logan thought when he met Remus, the rest of the star would light up. That was what a normal relationship was, an alpha, a beta, and an omega, but the star was still missing 2 pieces. On days like this, Logan could feel it. He was drained. He couldn't go home and be the strong, level-headed alpha that Virgil and Remus needed. He didn't have the energy or the emotional acumen to do that all of the time. He couldn't leave Virgil and Remus alone for too long because Remus wasn't always great at understanding hard limits when it came to Virgil's anxiety. Logan needed the other pieces of his star to complete his paradise. For now, though, he hoped he could afford enough time at the library to just relax, take a few moments to himself, then return home to the 2 men he loved that he would do anything for. Remus surely wanted to celebrate. Maybe Logan should stop and pick up his favorite meal before heading home. However, Remus also shouldn't be rewarded for punching people. A heavy sigh left Logan's lips as he rubbed his face. "Hey, kiddo, you doing okay?" Someone asked, and Logan looked up at the man standing in front of him. "I'm adequate." Patton looked suspicious about that. Was he really that easy to read? Thankfully, he didn't seem to want to press the issue. "Oh, okay. Well, I hope you don't mind me saying, but that's a pretty necklace you got there," he said, pointing to Logan's star. "It shines very brightly." Logan felt like that was supposed to be a joke or a pun, but he just stood confused as he ran his fingers over the star. Its light was brighter in his peripherals than it normally was, and he quickly focused on it. Another section was lit up. Suddenly, he was awake and alert, trying to understand everything that was going on. "Apologies. Can I get your name?" "Oh, silly me. Not given in the first place. Of course. I'm your happy pappy Patton. He, him." "Patton, can I take you home?" As soon as the words came out of his mouth, Logan realized that his meaning might be misconstrued. He didn't want to come off as one of those alphas who just tried to collect people into their harem. Sorry. Again, I am Logan, also he, him. I am an alpha, but that's not why I asked what I asked. I believe we're soulmates, and I would like you to meet my others. Oh, if that's what you meant, kiddo, I wouldn't mind coming over. Can I bring my boyfriend? He and I have been looking for our other 3, but we aren't allowed to have our soul items at work. Yes, of course, please do. And he is an alpha. I hope that won't be a problem. No, not at all. If anything, it was a blessing. Logan could feel the weight of responsibility slipping, if just a bit. He couldn't rely on this just yet, and there was something instinctual telling him to protect his soulmates from another alpha, but he also knew practically that a second alpha would help smooth things over, and Patton had the kind of disposition that felt like home. Virgil would love Patton. Logan was certain of it, and he could already see Remus teasing this man during the day and snuggling close to him during the night. Let me give you my address. Logan gave Patton his phone number and address, and discussed when the two of them would be able to come over. He left the library, once again fiddling with his necklace, this time out of excitement rather than exhaustion. He had to temper his expectations, but there was a possibility that he could find his last missing piece. He would be able to have his clan. Expectations of the world be damned. He could feel the weight of the world lifting, just a bit. Chapter 2. Rest, please. If there was anything in this world that Logan significantly despised, it was injustice. Maybe that was why he had gone into his chosen profession. The law was not always correct, but it was a tool, and when that tool was used properly, he could protect people who needed protecting. Right now, those people were his pack. For some reason that Logan could not fathom, his polycule, despite all being soulmates, was not seen as a legal unit because they were non-standard. Their group of 5 was not society's expected 3, and they were being denied rights that they should have had as a pack. The most important right being that they could not get registered as a full group. It had irritated Logan even more that he had been told if they had one more person, they could be verified as 2 separate packs. He thrummed his fingers against the table angrily. Logan hated when people didn't get the rights that people deserved. He hated it even more that this was affecting people that he very quickly had grown to love. He would fix this. It didn't matter that his head felt like it was full of TV static, or that his muscles felt sore and tight being stuck in the same position. It didn't matter that he had skipped dinner once again, or that his body had grown cold from the position he was in. All that mattered was making sure his soulmates could be happy and safe. Burning the midnight oil again? That's great for your mental health. Even without turning to look at who had walked into his study, Logan knew it was the other alpha of the group. There is still a lot to get done, Logan whispered softly. It is my responsibility to take care of this family. There was a quiet, desperate edge to his voice. You are falling into society's traps again. Logan heard the slow saunter footsteps walking towards him, then felt the weight of Janice's hands on his shoulders. It was warm and comforting. His soulmate necklace glowed brighter in Janice's presence, and he was torn between the light hurting his tired eyes and the warm fuzzy feeling that came with knowing he was close. And even if you want to follow society's rules, which, all right then. Logan wasn't looking at him, but he could feel the eye roll. It's our job to take care of those misfits. Our job. That made Logan smile, although a bit weakly. For so long it had been his job to take care of Virgil and Remus, his job to make sure their polycule was functioning properly. It was a toxic habit he needed to overcome because they were all equal partners in this relationship, but even still, even under the weight of the pressure of his own ingrained sexism, he had a right to share that burden with someone else now. Would you like to help me go over the data I've collected? Tomorrow. You still have a few weeks before your court appointment. Take a break with me." Logan looked backwards and up at Janice, who was smirking a bit. "Was that a reference I don't understand?" Janice dramatically sighed and lightly kissed Logan, who was looking backwards at him. "It is, and I should break up with you simply for that." Between the kiss and the light mirth in Janice's voice, Logan assumed he was joking. But his eyes must have still shown his doubt. "I do not actually mean that." He began to card his hands through Logan's hair, his gloves having been discarded earlier so that Logan could feel the slight scratching on his scalp. "Now, since you seem so determined to follow society's rules while fighting them, let me be the big strong alpha for once and take care of you." Logan might have protested if he wasn't already jelly in Janice's hands. "There's a bath drawn, and I have snacks prepared since I know you have not eaten as much as you should. The others also wanted to help, so you might have a few additions to your night of relaxation." Logan gave Janice a small smile. "I'm not getting out of your forced self-care, am I?" "Forced?" he asked dramatically, putting a hand on his chest. "Why would I ever force someone I care so deeply about to do something? I prefer persuaded." He leaned down to give Logan another kiss, and when Logan went to chase his lips, he tisked, "Bath first." At that, Janice turned and left the room. Truly, if Logan wanted to go back to his work, he could, but he didn't feel focused on it anymore. It was important, but he knew that what Janice had been saying was true. He had been neglecting his own health. This wasn't the first time Logan had needed to be persuaded to take care of himself. It was a bad habit he had gotten into with his family's insistence that alphas had to push aside their needs and emotions to fight for what the pack needed. Alphas needed to sacrifice their emotional needs for the needs of their pack. Janice had different beliefs. Logan stood up, stretching his limbs and rolling his shoulders. He felt tight, and he had probably been sitting there for far too long. He knew that he should be getting up every 20 minutes and stretching. Had any of his pack been working, he would have suggested they set a timer, but he had taken no such precaution. He refused to call himself a hypocrite, but he was. He began to walk towards the bathroom, smelling the light touch of lavender from the hot water. Obviously, whoever had prepared that part knew that he couldn't stand the smell of manufactured scents, as there were actual lavender petals in the water. "If I didn't know better, I would think Janice is trying to put me to sleep," Logan muttered to himself. Janice's sarcasm was starting to rub off on him, but a feeling of fondness spread through him as he began to prepare to get himself into the water. "Daddy-o!" Remus threw the door open as Logan sunk his lower half into the hot steam. "Remus, what are you doing?" "Janice has been planning to pamper you for a while now, so he helped me make a surprise. Show me your back." Logan went to open his mouth in protest, but there was a pleading in Remus's eyes, so he relented. He turned himself so that he was sitting cross-legged in the bath, and his back was turned to Remus. He was almost immediately thankful that he had. Remus put his hands on Logan's shoulders and began to massage away the tension. "Wow, Specs, you're so tight." The concern was obvious in his voice, and in the fact that he didn't make a sexual joke out of it. "I don't believe I have ever received a massage." "Well, if it's gonna make you this squishy, I'll have to do it more often." Remus began to litter his neck and head with little kisses and nips in between his massages. "I would appreciate that, Remus. You are quite adept at this." Logan could smell it in the change of Remus's scent, the pride and happiness from being praised. Remus nuzzled into Logan's hair and whimpered a bit. "Can I claim you?" Normally it was an alpha's job to claim their mate, but none of them were part of the norm. "Of course." Remus leaned in, biting down hard on Logan's neck. Sure, by this point in their relationship, Logan and Janice had claimed all of them, and Remus had claimed everyone a few times, likely to verify the claim was still there. Even if it wasn't a new thing, it still made a wave of security crash through Logan as he closed his eyes, almost falling asleep right there. As his body relaxed further, a new scent entered his nose, one of his other mates. "Open up for me, honey bun." Patton's voice was soft and sweet as a spoonful of warm liquid was put to Logan's lips. He opened up his mouth, protesting that he could feed himself, but he didn't get the chance. "I can see that look on your face, mister. Let us take care of you for once." Logan didn't have the energy to fight it anymore. He allowed himself to be fed the homemade beef stew. Patton's cooking really was amazing, and by the time he was done, he was ready to sleep. The water was being drained from the tub, and Logan didn't have the energy to get up, but it seemed he didn't have to. He was picked up, dried off, and helped into his pajamas before being led to bed. Logan let out a large yawn that he couldn't control before he was gently pushed into the middle of the bed, a weighted blanket laid over him, helping him to feel secure before he felt his partners join him in the bed. "We love you, Logan." Virgil's voice reached his ears, and he smiled lazily, the static gone from his mind, replaced by love. He closed his eyes, letting his heavy lids fall gently. He loved them too. Still, somewhere in the back of his mind, Logan was worried about all of the work he had to do. As his body tried to tense up, he felt a hand running through his hair. "Rest, please." Janice was again lulling him back into a relaxed state, and Logan could do nothing more than succumb to sleep. Thank you all for listening. Again, this was day 25 of our Soulmate September series, Missing Pieces. I do hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.